Hello, Wranglers. Welcome to another roundup. And today we're doing the terrifying story of the Pollywog Man. The Pollywog Man, yes. This one is a bone chiller, and I guess maybe I'm the only one that's ever told the story that I know of. Never seen it on YouTube, and I've never seen it anywhere else. Grew up in Alaska, okay? And Alaska was a very nice place for a kid to grow up. I don't recommend it for adults, but it was great for a kid. We didn't mind the darkness or the light, going on forever. So anyway, we used to go camping at this place. It was called the Russian River, like Russian, like the country of Russia, Russian River. And the Russian River was fed by the Upper Russian Lake and the Lower Russian Lake. And then this river would go out to sea. This is important because if you know anything about the lifespan of or life the lifestyle of salmon is they're born in fresh water, they swim down, they live in the ocean for a while. Then when it gets ready to die, the salmon, when they start really getting to the end of their lives, they swim back up the freshwater rivers to where they spawned from, to where they were born at. And so at times this river would be flooded with fish. And I'm talking like you could almost walk across it. I mean, you weren't even allowed to. You could just throw a hook in and snag them. That was illegal, but you could do it. There were so many fish in these rivers. I mean, it was literally bank to bank fish, and when they were coming back up in the spawning season. But you didn't fish in the spawning season. You fished before that. So that's what, a little bit about salmon, and you'll see why this is important in a second. Well, one night us kids were sitting around the fire. We had fireplaces, we'd all camp together. We'd get adjacent camping spots. All my dad's friends and all that. So there'd be, three or four families camping together. And so we're sitting around the fire, and one of the kids tells the story about the Pollywog Man. And he basically starts the story. The Pollywog Man was very tall and thin, and he was completely slimy and black. I mean, like slick and black, like a wetsuit, and you could see his eyes. Kind of like a amphibian eyes, I guess is the way he described it. Kind of a little bit of a bulging eye. And this Pollywog Man would roam the lakes and stuff up here in the Russian River area, Lower Russian Lake and the Upper Russian Lake and the rivers. And we were like laughing, yeah. And he would go into the kid was saying, oh yeah, he'd go into camps and get people and all this kind of thing. So we had our nice little scare, about the Pollywog Man. We liked the name. I liked the name Pollywog Man. Anyway, so a couple nights later, we're sitting around the fire with the adults, and I remember this guy named Bill Bazemore, and so one of the kids brought up the Pollywog Man, and Bill just kind of grinned, and he's about my dad's age, and he says, yeah. He said, a long time ago, I don't know how many years, but he was saying a long time ago, maybe when he was young, because he's been a lot in Alaska for a long, long time. Um, People started disappearing around the Upper Russian and Lower Russian lakes, which kind of scared me because I used to go up there and fish. I was too small to get the big salmon out of the river. They pulled me in, but I could go catch trout in those Upper Russian, Lower Russian lakes. The people camping up there, or not camping, but who would go up there, occasionally would disappear. Now, at first, you don't. This is Alaska. There's grizzlies. There's all kinds of things. It's a wilderness. No surprise that people disappear sometimes. But there were a lot of people starting to disappear up there back in whenever this happened, and even the park rangers, even though there were a lot, they still didn't. They do their routine search, and they didn't find it. They'd call it off. Another person got lost, but well, the day came along where a kid went missing. So then they pulled out all the stops and went looking around. They got divers to go into the water and all that. Well, people, were claiming that this was the work of the Pollywog Man, dragging people into the water or doing something and killing them. That was the thing, is that they started to find that they would find gear and stuff on the banks of the river, but no body. You could see where it had been drugged into the water. Now there's no alligators, no crocodiles, none of that in Alaska. Something they started seeing this evidence of whenever an adult would disappear, you'd see this. Now this child disappeared, and they put the divers in and all that. Well, here's the part that Bill said, and he says an adult. He says they found a cave, not a deep cave, but about 5 or 6 feet under the water. There was a cave mouth, and it was like they went in there to look, and what they found were bones. And I'm not kidding you. They found bones in there, in all different degrees of condition from being under the water. And they looked around. They didn't, some of them still had clothes on. Some of that, some of the bodies were identified because of what they were wearing eventually, and some of them, couldn't be identified. Um, I'm not sure about the child if they ever found him or not, but they did that. They did that investigation, and they pulled out some of these bodies. Something had been dragging these people down in there, and one thing they did find that was really strange were what appeared to be empty egg sacs, maybe the size of, trying to think of what he said. It wasn't like huge, but like the size of a baseball or something along those sides. Baseball size egg sacs out there in this cave, down in this cave. They were all torn open and all that. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, the whole place is going to be invaded by Pollywog Man, Pollywog people or whatever these creatures are, Pollywog things. And Bill and my dad were just kind of shaking their head, no, not likely. And they're like, what? Well, because we knew we'd never seen them, first of all, and people aren't disappearing anymore. But what the consensus was talking with these guys, that these monsters, these Pollywog people, these creatures, if that's what this is about, whatever this is, they'd be born, they'd swim down the rivers just like the fish did. They'd swim out into the ocean, the open ocean, just like the fish did. They'd live their lives out there, then probably return back to the lake to spawn when they time to die. Okay, that would explain why maybe you didn't have a raging population there. These things migrated just like the salmon, or whatever they were, or whatever this was. And to this day, I don't know. There's so many questions I'd like to ask. Like, did they give this stuff to a biologist? Did they find out what it was? All of that kind of thing. Never got that. I never had that. I didn't have that brains to ask that when I was a kid, and I don't know where this man is, if he even remembers the story that well now. But this is one I was told as a kid, and it used to really scare me. And for a few nights, it would scare you when you're laying in your tent too. I mean, because evidently these things were fairly mobile if Pollywog Man was real. So that was my tale of the Pollywog Man. And as far as you know, he didn't get me. But hey, Wranglers, thanks for stopping by. And until the next roundup, ride on.